Hello everyone, my name is Sarafi and I'm happy to meet you all, and today I got feedback on my last video that it was scuffed by Beam. Thank you, Beam, for telling me that my video quality is trash. Alright, we will redo it. So, here is the final output for the Chimera deck. We're going to do this in dueling books so that I can mimic the skill and so that you guys can see the full deck in action. For the main deck, we have 3 copies of Cornfield Coatl, which allows us to discard a card to search anything. We have Swordknight, which allows us to 1-card fuse. We have Gazelle, which searches. We have Baphomet, which allows us to revive a monster from the graveyard. We have Chimera Fusion, which will allow us to fusion summon multiple times. Nightmare Apprentice allows us to search a monster from our deck. Nightmare Magician gets milled with the skill. Droll and Lockbird is just a good card to interact with the opponent and disrupt them with the last card in our deck. The other 19 cards are needed. And then lastly, we have Chaos Betrayer. Chaos Betrayer was brought to my attention by James Brolkin on stream as a card that we could use to, because it's a fiend monster that can special summon itself from the graveyard, which we can send to the graveyard from the deck with the effect of our Baphomet, the Mythical King of Phantom Beasts. And since it's a fiend monster, and Baphomet is also a fiend monster, and they're both level 6, that allows us to Xyz summon into our Triple D Wave High King Caesar, which will give us a decent amount of interruption when we go first. So, for the extra deck, we are playing 2 copies of Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts, 1 copy of Chimera, the Illusion Beast, 2 copies of Baphomet, the Mythical King of Phantom Beasts, Underworld Goddess of the Closed World, IP Masquerena, Nightmare Unicorn, and Triple D Wave High King Caesar. So, with that in mind, let's go into some games and see what the combos look like. For those of you that don't know what the skill does, the skill says this: reveal a monster from your hand that mentions Chimera Fusion, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 11. There's 11 out of 20 cards in our deck that do this. Return 1 card from your hand to the deck, add Chimera Fusion from your deck to your hand, then mill Nightmare Apprentice. Okay, so with that in mind, let's take a look at what we can do. Okay, so I have 4 1-card combos that I want to show you. First things first, let's look at what happens if we open Mirror Swordknight. So we're going to use, actually it's a 1.5 card combo, so this will be our dead card. Alright, so first things first, we're going to use the skill. We will return Nightmare Magician to our deck, draw Chimera Fusion, and then send Nightmare Magician to the graveyard. Now, we normal summon Mirror Swordknight, and we'll declare its effect, send to grave. This will allow us to special summon Gazelle, the Mythical King of Claws, from our deck, and Gazelle's effect will allow us to add Baphomet to the hand. The reason why the skill is needed is because we don't want to fusion lock ourselves if we are going to be making Wave High King Caesar. So we need the Chimera Fusion to be in our hand so that Gazelle is the card that we can summon from deck rather than Big Wing Baphomet, which fusion locks us. It's an interesting way for Konami to try and give us some options, although I don't like the fact that they have put a restriction on it when they are trying to help us. Alright, now we can activate Chimera Fusion, and we will send Gazelle to graveyard and Baphomet to graveyard in order to special summon the Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts, to our extra monster zone. Now, Gazelle's effect activates as a Chain Link 1, Baphomet's effect activates as a Chain Link 2, targeting Nightmare Magician, and then Chimera's effect activates as a Chain Link 3. So during the end phase, we will discard a card from our opponent's hand. Then on resolution, we will special summon Nightmare Magician, and then we will add Nightmare Apprentice from our deck to our hand. That Gazelle adds an illusion monster. Now we special summon the Nightmare Apprentice, discarding the Cornfield Coatl, or any other card in our hand. Declare the effect of Nightmare Apprentice, and we will use it to add Cornfield Coatl from our deck to our hand. Now we'll activate Cornfield Coatl's effect, send it to grave, add the Chimera Gazelle to our hand. Now we activate Chimera Fusion's effect in the graveyard, which allows us to return it to the hand once per turn. Then we activate Chimera Fusion. We will fuse a beast and an illusion monster together in order to special summon our Big Winged Baphomet. Then we activate Big Winged Baphomet's effect, and we send Chaos Betrayer to our graveyard. Chaos Betrayer can now banish the Nightmare Apprentice and the Mirror Swordknight in order to special summon itself. Then we overlay these two monsters in order to Xyz summon our Triple D Wave High King Caesar. So, with our end board, we have Wave High King Caesar, we have Chimera the King of Phantom Beasts, so that allows us to use our negates in the graveyard, and we have Nightmare Magician, which can't be destroyed by battle, and if the opponent attacks it, we can take control of their monster. During the next turn, we can then use Wave High King Caesar's effect to detach a card in order to negate a monster effect, or negate an effect that would summon a monster, and after we've done that, we can then banish our Baphomets in order to use its effect, allowing us to special summon Mirror Swordknight in defense position. Then Mirror Swordknight can use its effect to, during our opponent's turn, to special summon Baphomet in defense position, and that will allow us to, first of all, it adds 2 cards to our hand for next turn, but then it also will allow us to use Mirror Swordknight's Grave effect in order to stop our opponent from activating a monster effect on the field. So after we've done that, we have essentially 2 summon negates, a monster on the field negates, and a targeting protection. And in addition to all of that, we still have 2 more cards left in our hand. Okay, so now that I've shown you this combo, let's take a look at the next one. Okay, so in this combo, we're going to take a look at what happens when we have Coatl. First, we activate our skill. We return Nightmare Magician to the deck in order to mill it, and then we will also add Chimera Fusion to our hand. Alright, now Coatl is probably the weakest version of the combo. We discard it, and we use its effect to add our Mirror Swordknight to our hand. Then we normal summon Mirror Swordknight, and we use its effect. Send it to grave. This will allow us to special summon the Gazelle from deck, and Gazelle will add Baphomet to our hand. Then we activate Chimera Fusion, and we special summon our Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts. Alright, with Baphomet, we'll special summon our Nightmare Magician, and then with Gazelle, we will add Nightmare Apprentice to our hand. Nightmare Apprentice will then special summon herself by discarding a card. And now we will add a card from our deck to our hand. In this case, it's probably going to be Mirror Swordknight for next turn. Okay, now we activate Chimera Fusion's effects to return it to our hand. But since we had to add an illusion monster from our deck to our hand with the effect of Nightmare Apprentice, and we did not get to keep our Coatl for later, we have to now use Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts, as our fusion material. So we'll pitch these 2 monsters in order to special summon Baphomet. Baphomet's effect, we send Chaos Betrayer from deck to grave. Then with Chaos Betrayer, we will now banish the these 2 in order to special summon it. Then we can overlay into our Wave High King Caesar. Okay. And then we just attach in order to negate spells, and then once we've done that, we can banish the Chimera from our graveyard in order to special summon the Baphomet, which means that our Cornfield Coatl will be live, but we never get our Mirror Swordknight back in this instance. So with this combo where you open Coatl as your main starter, you still have Nightmare Magician, you still have 2 uses of Triple D Wave High King Caesar, and you have Baphomets to negate with Coatl, but you don't have the extra negate with the Mirror Swordknight. However, that's just assuming that we don't also open another card. This is just a 1.5 card combo. One card and then a random card from your hand. As long as you opened another Beast or Fiend in your opening hand, you can keep the combo is completely the same. So remember that you have 2 other cards in your hand, and then let's take a look at the deck's replay. Okay, so in this instance, let's take a look at what happens when we open Nightmare Apprentice. So first, we'll use the skill. We'll add Chimera Fusion to our hand, and we will send Nightmare Magician to the graveyard. Now we special summon our Nightmare Apprentice by discarding a card. Use the effect to add Mirror Swordknight. And then we'll normal summon it. Mirror Swordknight effect. We special summon the Gazelle from deck. Gazelle, add Baphomet to hand. Now we activate the Chimera Fusion. Send to grave. Send to grave. Special summon the Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts. Activate the effects of all monsters. We will discard a card from our opponent's hand during the end phase. Special summon the Nightmare Magician. And then we will add the Coatl to our hand. Now we can use Coatl's effect, so we send it to the grave in order to add another copy of Chimera or Gazelle to our hand. Then we will activate Chimera Fusion's effect. Chimera Fusion, send Nightmare Apprentice to grave, send Gazelle to grave, special summon the Baphomet. Baphomet effect, we mill the Chaos Betrayer. And then we will banish the Nightmare Magician and the Mirror Swordknight. Special summon the Chaos Betrayer. And overlay into the Wave High King Caesar. So this end board is basically the same as the first end board, which shouldn't surprise you, because essentially when you have Nightmare Apprentice as your starter, Mirror Swordknight is still your starter. It's just that you have to discard a card first to summon it. So great, we still have the 2 negates from the graveyard, but we do have to use 1 Wave High King Caesar effect before we can access the Mirror Swordknight. We also have the special summon from deck that draws us 2 cards. We have the Nightmare Magician unable to be destroyed and sucking up opponent's monsters. And we have the 2 negates on the field. So a fantastic opening board, and we still have 2 cards in our hand. One more 1-card combo. Okay, so in this combo, we're going to showcase what happens if the only starter in your hand is Gazelle, the King of Mythical Claws. That's going to be pretty rare, but it will happen to you sometimes. And so I want you guys to know what's going to happen in that situation. So first, you activate your skill. You send your one of your cards to the deck, and then you will add Chimera Fusion to your hand, and you will mill your Nightmare Magician. Alright, we normal summon Gazelle. Gazelle effect. We add Baphomet to our hand. So in this instance, neither the Mirror Swordknight nor the Coatl are in the rotation at the start. Chimera Fusion. Thankfully, the skill makes sure that we still have the special summon from grave even if we brick. So we can special summon the Nightmare Magician even so, and now we will add the Nightmare Apprentice with the Gazelle. Special summon Nightmare Apprentice by discarding a card. And with Nightmare Apprentice, we're going to add the Coatl to our hand. Then we will use Coatl's effect, we discard it, in order to add the Mirror Swordknight to our hand. But we've already normal summoned, so what do we do in this situation? First things first, we'll use Chimera Fusion to add itself back to the hand. Then we're going to activate Chimera Fusion, and we're going to send Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts, and Mirror Swordknight from our hand to the graveyard in order to special summon Baphomet. And we're going to special summon Baphomet not to the EMZ. Now, Baphomet effect, we mill our Chaos Betrayer. But here's the problem. We don't have any darks in grave. because our Nightmare Apprentice is still on the field. So in order to actually access our Chaos Betrayer here, we have to link summon. So we're going to send both Nightmare Apprentice and Nightmare Magician to the graveyard in order to link summon our IP Masquerena to our extra monster zone. Now we can banish the Mirror Swordknight and the Nightmare Apprentice in order to special summon the Chaos Betrayer, and that will allow us to overlay into our Triple D Wave High King Caesar. Okay, so in this instance we have 0 Chimeras on the field, but once we've used 1 overlay unit, we send our Baphomet with our Wave High King Caesar. We can then banish Chimera from our graveyard in order to special summon Baphomet. This will get us access to our Coatl negate, targeting negate, but it will not get us access to the Mirror Swordknight negate. However, that does mean... So, okay. However, you have access to IP Masquerena instead. So once you've used your Coatl negates, you can then link the IP Masquerena and the Baphomet into your Nightmare Unicorn and discard one of the cards that was in your hand in order to spin one of your opponent's monsters. Or, even more, if you manage to use your second effective Wave High King Caesar and your opponent still attempts to build a board, you can use IP Masquerena, Baphomet, and Wave High King Caesar to, along with one of your opponent's monsters, to link summon your Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. So, you have plenty of options when you open just Gazelle. Anyway, these are the 1-card combos with the new deck, along with the deck list. My name is Serafi. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to subscribe. If you are already a subscriber, then I appreciate you, and please consider becoming a member. My name is Serafi, and I was thrilled to have all of you with me.